Welcome to the Everyday Creative Podcast. We are two creatives that will discuss our own creative journeys, mental health, and a little bit of everything in between. Oh yeah, we're married too. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome back to the Everyday Creative Podcast. I'm Camaryn.
And I'm Bryce.
And we're your hosts. Welcome to episode 6. Five. Golly gee, let's do it again.
No, we're keeping it. Let's keep it rolling.
Episode 5.
Episode 5.
I'm skipping.
You're just going.
I'm too excited.
You're too excited about what's to come.
Yeah, so today we're doing a little Q&A with yours truly.
We got a ton of great questions.
Yes, so we asked on Instagram. We got some questions, so stick with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going to get into it.
Oh, yeah.
But first, we're going to do some other things like our movie reviews and things like that. But yeah, so what kind of creative were you this week?
I was... Well, see, here's the thing. We're recording on a Thursday. Normally we record on Saturday, so I have a little bit more of the week to go.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a non-existent creative. I've just been not doing too much, but I'm doing okay mentally.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I'd say I'm about the same place. How do you feel recording on a Thursday?
I hate it.
You don't like it? Why? No. Not enough time to think?
It feels like we just recorded an episode.
Yeah.
So it feels...
That's why I think I got
rushed.
confused about which episode we were on.
Yes. But we have a busy couple of days coming up.
Yeah.
So we decided to record earlier. It feels weird to me.
I agree. I think from Saturday to Wednesday when we post, like my mind's on
the past
podcast. And then from like Thursday then to Saturday, I can kind of think through some things a little bit more. So now I'm like, I feel like we were like hit it, like change directions real quick.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we'll see. See how this goes.
So I wasn't really creative yet because there hasn't been much week.
Yes. Because you're working between Saturday and Wednesday, you're working to edit the previous.
Correct.
So then kind of Thursday to Saturday, you have more time to be creative in your own way.
Yeah, doing like freelance work.
Yeah, so you haven't
like
really had that chance.
Not yet, but I will.
But one of the reasons why we're busy this weekend is because tomorrow we're going to see the cherry blossoms in DC.
Yeah.
You excited about that?
I'm really excited.
That'll be our opportunity to be creative, take some photos, spend some quality time together.
Yeah. Get some Korean food.
Yes. Yeah, because we went last year.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it a
yearly tradition. Yeah.
So.
How are you doing?
I'm good. We have something new.
Yeah. What's the new thing?
My hair's shorter.
Yes.
That happened this week.
Yeah.
Kind of like a last minute.
Why'd you decide to do that?
Well, you see, I cut my hair short, made the big transition in August, this past August. So I had really long hair this past summer, like really long hair.
It was really far down your back.
And cut it. It's a weird way to say it, but yep, really long hair. Cut it really short.
Yeah.
Like cut it to my, like right on my shoulders in August. And for some reason, that transition seemed a lot easier than the last one that I did, this one, because I wanted to get it cut short again. It's a little shorter than I expected. So I'm still trying
But I think it looks great.
I'm still trying to figure out how to, I guess guys too, whenever you get your hair cut and stuff, but girls know, like, it just takes a minute for you to figure out, okay, with this length, what looks good. And like, I know this is like a little bit of a tangent, but when I cut it short last time, like I really liked straightening it, and then it gets to a certain length where it looks really good curled. And so you're trying to figure things out. But I like it short. I prefer to have my hair short. I let it grow out a little too much. So it's still short, but it was long short. It was like a middle length. Yeah. And then I got it cut short, a little shorter than I thought, but that's okay because hair grows.
Did you know that I cried once after a haircut?
No.
Yeah. It was when I had my long hair, my bowl cut.
There comes a time in every Asian boy's life
when they decide to wear it up or down. But this was before those times.
Yeah.
I had a bowl cut, and the lady that cut my hair cut it just like, maybe, I don't even think she cut it that short in the front, but I thought it was way too short in the front. And I cried, and I told her that I hated it, and it was horrible.
Wow.
And I was like 11 years old.
Yeah.
So way too old to be doing that.
Yeah. But, I mean, hair holds a lot of meaning. Basically, the way that I've done it is I've always grown out my hair. Nobody come at me, but I only cut my hair like once a year. I know that's not healthy, but when you're in sports and stuff, you know. So I'd grow my hair out, cut it really short once a year, grow it out, cut it short again. Yeah. But now I'm keeping it short or shorter, depending on how much time goes between haircuts. So yeah, I'm keeping it short for this season.
Nice.
So maybe not this short, but short.
You cut your hair this week. I had skin issues. Just all of the things.
Tell us about that, Bryce.
If you noticed on the last week's pod, my face was turning red.
I mean, both of our faces are really red because it gets hot in here.
It does, but my skin, for some reason, I ran out of the moisturizer I usually use. And so I used one of your moisturizers.
Which is not the one I normally used. And I don't like it either.
And it completely dried out my skin.
Yeah.
And then it's been a process. We're finally almost back to normal.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little bit red.
Yeah. It looked like you just had like really nice
really rosy
cheeks.
That's not what I want.
No?
No.
That's our little life update. So we thought we'd start out this podcast. We kind of like to move this segment around a little bit. So we're going to start with a random generated question.
Let's see which
one
we'll
pull
be
up
doing.
The list. I was not prepared.
Hey Siri, pick a number between 1 and 50. 40.
Why is she always going to the 40s?
I don't know. It was 41 last episode.
Oh, interesting question.
Yes.
If you had to eat a crayon, which color would you choose?
Maybe white.
Why?
Because at least it would make my teeth whiter.
Oh. My brain's kind of stuck between two colors.
Okay.
Either blue, because it's my favorite color.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's still my favorite.
Yeah.
Color. And orange. I don't know why.
Orange ran through my brain.
Orange just feels like, maybe because like there's like orange candies.
Yeah.
Or like orange flavored things, even though the crayon wouldn't taste like orange flavored things. It's just like a familiar.
Yeah.
Like it's not out of the ordinary to eat something that orange.
Yeah. So interesting. Yeah, I'd go with white just because if I'm going to eat a crayon, it's going to suck either way. So at least whiten my teeth a little bit maybe.
But I'd rather not eat a crayon.
Yeah.
So we don't encourage that. Please don't eat crayons.
Anyway.
Did you ever like eat a crayon when you were
Have I ever eaten a crayon? Probably.
Did you ever chew on erasers?
No, that's kind of gross.
No, I didn't do any of
those.
But
those grippy things.
You chew on those?
Yeah, they were fun. Yeah. Moving on.
You feel good? Feel confident?
I feel confident in this segment.
Okay.
So moving on to the fan favorite section of the podcast.
Lights.
The fans voted. We held a poll. And they voted.
If you didn't see the poll, I mean...
voted fan favorite section. Lights, camera, and action.
Yep. And this week...
We did not go to the movies.
We did not go to the movies because...
There was nothing of substance.
Well, yes. And Bryce knows this. You guys all probably know it too at this point. I... love watching movies, but that wasn't always true.
It was not afforded the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't have like a good library of movies that I've watched. So Bryce is pulling out some of the classics.
I am.
And we're here to review them.
Yes.
For you.
So without further ado, I will give you some background on the movie that we watched.
Which was
The Shawshank Redemption, which you had not seen.
Nope.
So, let's pull up these facts. Shawshank Redemption came out in 1994.
30 years.
30 years ago, which is crazy. 1994 was a really great year for film. I sent you a text this morning about all the films that came out. So here is just a couple films that came out in 1994. The Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, The Crow, The Lion King, The Mask, True Lies, Clear and Present Danger, Pulp Fiction, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Clerks, The Santa Claus, Dumb and Dumber, Legends of the Fall, The Jungle Book, Speed, and Little Women.
Let me ask you a quick question about that list that
Go
you sent
for
me
it.
this morning. Did you make that while you were working out?
Yes, I did.
Because can I tell you something?
What?
Whenever we were working out and I finished my workout and you were like, oh, I'm running a little behind.
Yeah.
Because you had to answer an email.
I had some work emails I had to catch up on.
I also thought, okay, but you had enough time to compile a list of all of these
Well, they
movies?
just kept on coming to mind whenever I was working out.
And you just knew they were from 1994?
Yeah.
But like you can't remember what we talked about like 2 weeks ago.
I hold random facts.
Okay.
So, we're talking about The Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
It stars Tim Robbins as Andy Dufresne. Morgan... I put Morgan Wallen. It's Morgan Freeman.
Not quite the
very
same.
different. Very different. Morgan Freeman as Red. Bob Gunton as the Warden. William Sadler as Haywood. Clancy Brown as the Captain. James Whitmore as Brooks. And there's a bunch of other characters, but those are the main ones. It's directed by Frank Darabont. This is his directorial debut.
Oh, really?
It is. Well, I think he directed a few things before this short, but this was like the big thing. He also directed The Green Mile after this. A great movie. Not as good as this one, but still a great movie. It was written by Frank Darabont, and it's adapted from the short story Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King.
Oh.
The horror author.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know that?
No, I did not know that.
And it was lensed incredibly well by Sir Roger Deakins, the master. It looks so good. It was nominated for 7 Oscars.
Wow.
Do you know how many it won?
How many?
Take a guess.
1.
0.
Aw.
0 Oscars. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, and Best Score. The Best Picture that year went to Forrest Gump.
Okay.
The Best Actor, the one that was nominated was Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
But it went to Tom Hanks for Forrest Gump. The Best Screenplay went to Forrest Gump. The Best Cinematography went to Legends of the Fall. The Best Sound went to Speed. Best Film Editing went to Forrest Gump. And the Best Score went to The Lion King, which was composed by Hans Zimmer. A great score. Yeah. It has a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and 89% critic rating.
Wait, what's the letterbox? Sorry.
4.5.
Okay.
An 89% on Rotten Tomatoes critic score, and a 99% Rotten Tomatoes score for the audience.
Yeah, because you told me when we watched it that it's considered one of the greats. Yeah. So, do you have more information for us?
No, not really.
So, what's your rating?
Well, how would I rate it? It's one of the greats in my mind.
Yeah.
I would say there are some things that I'll get into later that I have a little bit issue with, but I think it's a 5 out of 5 for me. Mm-hmm. It's like a 99 out of 100. It's pretty perfect to me. How about you?
I was thinking like a 4.5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get your reading on it because we haven't talked about it. We watched it last night.
And then we didn't talk about it.
We didn't talk about it at all, and that was on purpose from my point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't want to know what you thought.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
well,
what did you think?
That's actually going to make it harder for me, though.
Yeah.
Because I'm a verbal processor, so I don't just hold things in my brain.
What did you think of it?
I really liked it.
What did you like about it?
Okay, so I have some things brief thoughts
Okay.
that I had about it. I think the characters were well written.
Oh, yeah.
Like, would you say the story itself is well written?
I would say so.
Yeah, but I think the characters especially were well written, like well-rounded characters. You like understood a lot about them, I feel like.
Yeah.
And also it's interesting because this takes place in jail, like in a prison. And yet with some of the characters are convicted criminals, yet you like love these characters.
Yeah.
And you want them to win, you want them to succeed. You feel emotionally connected to them.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I'll get into it, but I think that's just, the point is to show too that like even some of the people that are in prison, they're still humans.
Yeah.
You know, the average person in prison, you know, I know there's.
Well, let me ask you a question then about character and some of that. Who's the main character? Who's this story about?
Well, I guess Red kind of narrates it.
Yeah.
But I think the main character is Andy.
Okay.
But I also think they kind of share it.
So,
like it's one of those movies, you know how like people say like they're like ensemble movies or whatever? This is almost like that, but it's like two main characters.
So it's called The Shawshank Redemption, implying there's a redemption story. Who's redeemed?
Oh. And define like redemption for me.
So I'll just give you my take on it.
Yeah.
I think that we follow Andy throughout the film. So he would probably be the main character. But I think the story is really about Red because he committed a crime in his 20s. He went to jail. And really, we see his progression over 50 or so years of his redemption. He is not the same person at the beginning of his time in jail that he is at the end.
Yeah.
Andy, there's not much character growth. He kind of begins and ends as the same person. He's innocent. And yes, there's some ups and downs. And
but he's genius.
Well, yes. But he was always kind of that genius, always kind of maneuvering and manipulating, observing to get his way and to what would benefit him and other people. But Morgan Freeman's character, Red, he started out one way, but then is a completely changed person by the end. So is he really the redemption?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's my kind of take on it.
Yeah. But I also think that there are no better actors to play Andy and Red.
No.
Like they're perfect for that role. And I think that is partly what makes a great movie too, is having the best people to play these characters.
And I do agree, like Andy and Red are, you can't have one without the other.
Well, if you go based on what you're saying, then Andy's really, like, if you think through, like, any type of character arc, redemption, any change in anything, you have to think about what was that changing factor.
Yeah.
And Andy coming to that prison kind of starts that chain reaction of change in Red.
Yeah.
So they're both necessary to the story, whoever is actually the main character.
And it's got that movie has some of the best quotable lines.
Yeah.
And just, what else do you feel about?
That's what I was also going to say. Like, there's so much dialogue and it's so well written.
Yeah.
Like, there's some deep conversations that Andy and Red have together. And I think they're really well written.
Yeah.
Of just... Yeah. So along those lines is something that I really like about the way that the story's told is that it's set in one location.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there are different like rooms in the prison or whatever that it's set in, but the entire movie is in Shawshank prison or whatever.
And you can tell that it was shot in a real location.
Yeah. But I like that because sometimes when you have these movies, the way that they tell the story or move the story along is changes in location.
Yeah.
And or that makes it like the big story because it's like, wow, that looks like, or it like adds and makes it a big thing because it's like, oh wow, that looks great. Like, oh, they're here now, whatever it is. And when you like kind of, this allows you to kind of strip some of that away and look solely on the dialogue and the acting and like the writing to see if it's actually solid. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, well, they're going to be in this location so many times. Yeah. They're going to be out in like the yard multiple times throughout the movie. How can we make each one stand out individually? How can we make this scene specifically itself, even though it's in the same place? Yeah. And that takes, I think, good writing. So that was something I thought about, and I was like, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the writing, yeah.
You're processing.
I am processing what you're saying. We should have probably talked about this before. But I like what you were saying about, like, taking it was all in one place, so you had to kind of differentiate the different locations. And I think they did that really well with the production design too, and the sound. Yeah. I was thinking whenever we were watching it, whenever Andy comes for the first time, like the chain link fence sound, that's just the way that they mixed and developed the sound for this film was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I think there were, overall, it's, I think, a heartwarming movie too. Not in the same sense as like Arthur the King, but in a sense of like makes you like believe in humanity a little bit. Yeah. But there are really hard moments to watch too, or the story alludes to hard things happening. Yeah. And I also think like obviously this story takes place from the 1940s to the 1990s. No, 70s,
80s.
So it takes place over a period of time where a lot of things change over that period of time, but they're in the prison for most of that. Yeah. So you have to take into context like the time period, what was acceptable, what people didn't know. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not a historical. No. Like it's not. It takes place in a time of history, but it's not like a movie where I would say like, oh, it's 100% historically accurate. Yeah. Not that any historical movie is, but so that's more for just the feel of it. But I do think the story itself can translate across times, like different time frames, and even be relevant today. And so I think it kind of opens your eyes to what incarceration and what like rehabilitation looks like, which I think are some themes that they talk about a lot in the movie. So that was interesting because I think it's just an interesting way to get your mind thinking about that of what it looks like when people come out of prison and how it can be, if you've been in for years, how it can be hard to come back into society. And it's even interesting with that story of just like the one character goes like was in jail from like 1912 to like comes out 1950s maybe. Yeah. And like so much changes in that time. So I think that's just an interesting detail.
Yeah, he says like whenever he was a kid, he might have seen one car. Yeah. And then he got out 50 years later and they're everywhere.
Yeah. So it just kind of puts that into perspective a little bit and again brings out the humanity in these characters and makes you feel for them and makes you, I think like there's some movies where I can feel for characters and there's some movies where I get like attached to characters, and I would say that this is one of those movies that you get like attached to characters. Definitely.
So we didn't talk any spoilers, so we're gonna put a spoiler warning up now, but this movie's been out for 30 years, so if you haven't seen it, like,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, you should go see it. It's been out for a while.
But don't feel bad if you haven't seen it, because I just saw it.
Yes. But go see it. So, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so did you know how it ended?
Yeah.
Before we watched it, did you know how it ended?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I've never heard about this movie.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I've only heard the title from you.
That's interesting because for me growing up, this was like a pop culture phenomenon. My dad talked about it all the time.
Yeah.
So you didn't know the ending? No. You didn't know how it was going to end?
No.
What did you think about the ending?
It was a happy ending.
Yeah.
I like happy endings.
Did you like his escape?
From jail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how, if you look back at the movie, there are these small points leading up to that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay,
cool. Here's the dealio about that, though. I knew he was going to escape.
Yeah.
Because it shows you in the trailer. That's it. We need to make an episode about trailers spoiling things. Because the part where they rip the poster and there's a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
That's in the trailer.
I was hoping you'd forget about that.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
I asked you when he got that thing. I was like, oh, that's how he's going to make the hole in the wall. And you were like, I don't know. You're just going to have to watch. And then like when he got the poster and put the poster up and how it switched everyone. I was like, well, that's how he's hiding it.
Well, dang.
So the escape didn't really surprise me because I knew it was coming because the trailer told me it was coming. If I wouldn't have seen the trailer, I would have no idea that he was going to escape. But
nonetheless, it was still an incredible...
But that whole like sequence of like scenes and things like that is just like...
it was building over...
And he's so smart.
Yeah. And the way he kind of was funneling money, the dirty money.
Yes. And how he was like, that part, like, I didn't. So there were parts where I was like, oh, he's probably going to use that to escape. But that part where he talks about like, oh, well, if they do, they won't ever catch me because it will go to this other guy who doesn't exist. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I didn't realize that he wasn't actually telling the full truth there and that then he would become that identity.
I was reading some forums online this morning, kind of preparing for this, and there are some haters out there who hate on Forrest Gump and Shawshank and all that just because...
Haters gonna hate.
And some of these people are like, there's no way like he'd be able to escape and then walk into several different banks.
But it was also the
It was like the late 80s or the 90s. And they're like, yeah, he could. There'd be an APB out for a prisoner that escaped. Yeah. But he escaped 30 years ago. I mean, he got in jail 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers what Andy looks like.
Right.
B, the APB would have just been like white male, late 50s.
Right. Like, and he had a new social security number.
Exactly. And if anybody stopped him, he could have easily just been like, here's my information. This is who I am.
He made a whole identity.
Yeah. And so I'm like, that theory falls apart.
Also, let's be honest, like that is one of the things where the time period plays a role in that because that's like pre 9/11. So there's not the same amount of security in banks and public places that there is now. So it's like, it's very likely he could have gotten away with that.
Yeah. And nowadays, like, his face would be plastered everywhere. But this was the late 80s, 90s, whatever. So...
Also, it's a story. So, like, yes, we want stories to feel like they're solidified in truth and reality because that's what... When it comes to, like, a genre like this, like, that's what makes it hold weight.
Yeah.
But also, I think we have to allow ourselves some room to let things happen as a happily ever after. Well, we know that happily ever after probably wouldn't have happened in real life.
That's kind of what I want to talk about next. And that's why it's a 5 out of 5, but like a 99 out of 100. There's a little bit of suspension of disbelief you have to kind of go into. Like in real life, they probably would have found out that he was tunneling.
Yeah. Like, how did they not hear him?
How did they not hear him?
How did none of the other
How did nobody else figure this out?
Yeah.
Also, like you have to kind of suspend your disbelief of Morgan Freeman's character at the end finding that rock. It's like, how in the world would he find that one tree in this town?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't really care because it's a great story and it makes me feel something.
Yeah.
But it's also like, you kind of have to be like, is that quite possible? Probably not. But.
Right. I think that's something that, though, I think that theme, correct me if I'm wrong, was more common in like 90s movies than it is today.
Kind of, yeah.
And I think that's why we don't necessarily like get that feeling anymore when we watch movies now, because we're like not willing to have that. It is that area of disbelief that makes you walk away feeling hopeful at the end of a movie, even though maybe in reality, like, okay, like logistically these things don't add up, but yeah, I'm gonna walk away as a human hopeful for whatever it is. It has nothing to do with the story necessarily. And I also think if a story touches me emotionally, then there's room for that. If it has great writing, if it touches you emotionally, if it looks like those concepts in the story, like those writers didn't write that thinking that this could happen. They wrote it knowing that we're stretching things a little bit to add to the story.
But it was a great story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, definitely. I think those things kind of like going into it knowing that they're like, it is kind of a stretch of reality, but it does that to pull on like our emotions and our feelings of like our human feelings. And also like, I just think that the 90s movie, early 2000s. Yeah. I think that was a great time for movies.
It was.
And I think maybe this is a hot take, I don't know. Love movies now too, but I think sometimes movies get caught up in like the big, it's like how many explosions can we have? How much drama can we add in this? How can we make this like a huge production? Whereas sometimes those like 90s and early 2000s movies just have something so genuine about them. Yeah. Something so like simple, but and so it's just one of those movies where it just kind of like, you just are attracted to it.
Well, just from that list I gave you at the beginning of this, all of those films are so special. And they're all very different, but they have this unique kind of, I don't know, magical thing about them. Yeah. And I don't know if we'll look back in 20 years or 30 years and look at films made in the 2020s with the same kind of magic and awe. Maybe, but who knows?
Yeah, but I hope that there's like kind of goes into our conversation a little bit last week of like, I hope that there's a shift into bringing back some of that.
I do too.
Magic into movies.
I also think it has to deal with us as the audience because now anybody can be a critic and write the review or take on a film. Back then it was not as common to do so. It was, you would talk about the Shawshank Redemption with your buddies at work or at school, but there weren't people going on Twitter or the internet trashing it or praising it as the greatest thing ever. Yeah. It was actually a box office flop.
Really?
Yeah. Because there were so many other great movies coming out that it was actually
what's going to be our
great.
Our version of that where like you said, in 20 years, there's going to be a movie that just like completely flopped, but it's going to be like a classic.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I've thought about that. Like, we'll see. Even in 2023, 2024, what movie's going to last 30 years and we're still talking about? I don't know.
I don't think that those movies are made as much as they used to be. Yeah. So we thought for episode 5,
not 6,
we do a little bit of a Q&A. So we went to Instagram to ask you all some questions.
And we got some great ones.
We got a lot of responses, which is cool. We want to keep doing Q&As type of thing because It's a great way to get to know us and for us to get to know what you guys are wondering.
Exactly.
And things like that. So this is our trial round.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked at the questions as much as maybe you have, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I didn't look at them too much, just to kind of write them down in categories.
Bryce did the kind task of going through the questions, breaking them down into categories, organizing them, which is usually my job. We switched.
We did.
We switched roles.
I enjoy categorizing and
That's true.
organizing in this kind of realm and all that.
That's very true. So, yeah, so you've had a little, but neither of us have thought through our answers. So these are our genuine reactions to the questions.
Yes. So let's just start off.
Yep.
I guess we'll go category by category. Mm-hmm. And these are for both of us.
Yep.
So these are the personal creative questions.
Got it.
So the first question, what is one thing you've created that you're most proud of?
If you have an answer first, you can answer as well.
I think it's kind of hard to say because I'm more proud of things based on where I am in life. Like one thing I made a while ago, I might be very proud of then, but that's not the thing I'm most proud of now. Mm-hmm. The thing that I'm most proud of, I'm not sure. Do you have an answer?
The first thing that popped to my mind actually was that spoken word video we did together.
Yes, that's really cool.
I say that because honestly, if we look back at it, it's probably not that great. But
I did watch it recently.
Is it not good?
No, it's good. It's good. There are some things I did camera-wise that I was like, Bryce, why are you so pretentious? Why did you do that?
But that lines up, right?
It lines up.
Because here's why I think I'm the most proud of it. Because all growing up, mm-hmm. which I know spoken word's like a form of poetry, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah. So, but growing up, anytime we did like a poetry unit, mm-hmm. it was so hard for me.
Yeah.
Like for some reason that just doesn't come naturally to me. And that whenever I wrote that script for it, and for some reason, it just kind of came out of me. Mm-hmm. And I remember the whole week of me writing that and just feeling like inspired and the process of it. And it wasn't something where I was like getting down on myself or mm-hmm. frustrated. I was just like trying things and being really free and open with trying things and failing and being like, ooh, that sounds weird. And again, it's not like some like crazy thing because at that point it was like the first time that I had done that. Mm-hmm. And but the whole experience, I think I'm most proud of how I created it. Mm-hmm. It's not the end product for me. It was just the process of creating it. And I wrote a few after that as well. I wish I continued to do that. I don't know if I can get back into it. But yeah, so I would say that's one of them because I was surprised that that was also one of the first times that I was really truly creating for a long time. Yeah. That's one of the first things we created together.
It was.
So I think it just holds a special place in my heart and something I'm proud of. Yeah.
I think we made a short documentary a couple months ago for one of my friends I went to college with. And I think that's the thing I'm most proud of right now. Mm-hmm. I think that I would have liked it to be larger in the sense of there was a lot of story to tell. So the end product was a smaller portion of that story. And I think I would have liked to see it be bigger. Mm-hmm. But for the time it was made and what we had going on in life.
And the goal of it was to be a short documentary. So
I think that's what I'm most proud of, honestly, because you got to produce it. I got to write, direct, and film it. And it was just fun.
You are hard on yourself with those things. Like there's so many really amazing things that I'm proud of you for making, but you just won't see them that way. Yeah. It's just part of your experience as a creator.
Honestly, the real answer I wanted to say was nothing.
Yeah.
Always the next thing.
Yeah.
How do you quiet the noise / create space to be creative?
Great question.
Uh,
I think, first of all, whatever we say
yeah.
is ultimately unique to the person.
Yeah.
Like, we can say what kind of works or give ideas or whatever, but ultimately it is a journey to figure that out for yourself. A journey that we're still on as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that how do I quiet the noise? I think quieting the noise for me is turning up the noise. So playing music, listening to music, working out helps quiet the noise a lot. It kind of channels my anxieties or whatever I'm feeling. And I get a lot of my creative ideas at the gym. I have like a whole note that I have all my creative ideas from the gym. Yeah, so I think that's it.
Yeah, I think music is a big one because, like, find whatever music works the best. For you, everybody has their different tastes, but I think music moves us as people, and so that can bring on like inspiration, as well as I think that it can kind of focus your mind. I know, like, this is kind of unrelated, but like whenever I was in school, if I was studying, like, I'd listen to music. It just helped me not get so distracted by the other thoughts that I have and focus on the task that I'm doing. I also think, and maybe I feel like I do know that there might be a question later about this, but I think working with your mind rather than against your mind. Yeah. And so when your mind is noisy, when it's busy, when it has these thoughts, either maybe tap into those thoughts. Well, why is your mind on these things, and use that to create, or take a step away. Like, don't work against your mind. If your mind can't focus on what you're doing, don't work against it, because you're only going to get frustrated, and then you're getting frustrated with yourself, you're getting frustrated with the project that you're creating, and then you're not going to want to go back to it and all of that, and it just becomes really hard. So I think work with it, and if it's noisy, take a step away from creating and figure out what that noise is. Do whatever you need to do inwardly to quiet that, of whether it's like journaling, walking, thinking, whatever, talking with people, and then go back to creating.
Yeah, I agree. Good answer. What's a dream movie cast? So I don't know exactly what the question means, but I'm assuming it's like build your dream cast.
Yeah, if you had a movie.
If I had a movie?
I will say that, like, Dune is almost a dream movie cast.
It's a dream cast. Okay.
This is more of a Bryce question, I will say.
It depends on what I would be filming. Like, what was genre? What's the backstory?
Don't think too hard, Bryce.
I know. People that I would love to work with.
Yeah.
I didn't think about. These are straight off the top of my head. Who would I like to work with?
Florence Pugh.
We got to bring up Florence.
We have to bring her up. Actually, would love to.
No, I would love to work with Florence Pugh. I think working with Elizabeth Olsen.
You do love Elizabeth Olsen.
I love Elizabeth Olsen. Ben Affleck, maybe.
What's her name?
I don't know.
From Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Michelle Yeoh.
No. Well, yes, but also Jamie Lee Curtis. She's awesome.
She is. Okay.
Because you have to get generations. You have to get.
Scratch my entire list. Here's my cast.
Oh, golly.
So we're going to have Greta Lee as the lead. She's the lead. And
love Greta Lee.
We're going to have Jeremy Allen White in there somewhere.
Yeah.
We're going to have Michelle Yeoh, just because she's Michelle Yeoh. She needs to be in there.
Iconic.
We're going to have Gemma Chan in there, just because she's iconic. This is just turning into an Asian film.
I mean,
Simu will be in there, but not main character.
Not main character.
No, like
just a little.
Kind of like how he is in Kim's Convenience, kind of like a side character.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of the family,
so
I wouldn't say he's a side character. Babe, we're trying to get Simu on the podcast.
I know.
We've already offended him last week.
Oh yeah.
with the comparison in looks.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I have no idea who else. There's so many people that I would love to work with.
I'd love for you to cast Zac Efron.
He either gets put in really, really great films or the trash.
You need to really bring out that emotional side.
I'm just trying to think. I'll probably end up cutting down this segment. Who are some actresses that
Divine Joy Randolph. You love her.
Yeah, but how would she fit into my story?
She clearly can play multiple roles.
She can play multiple roles, so yeah. Divine Joy Randolph's gonna get in there. You know, it'd be really funny to have Paul Giamatti in there. But
what about Paul Rudd?
Oh, I love Paul Rudd.
Wow, we're just naming some of our favorite actors.
We're just giving the whole Hollywood. This is gonna be an Oppenheimer, because Oppenheimer has every star in the world.
So,
who did I not name?
A lot of people,
I know.
probably.
Definitely not having Mark Wahlberg, because I offended him last week by saying he was just a cheap ripoff of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Who would also probably be on your list.
Oh, yeah. They could co-write.
Yeah. So,
anyway,
a lot of people. We're going to have a huge movie.
What movie has had the biggest impact on you?
Oh, wow.
I have a couple.
Do you know what movies have had the biggest impact on me?
No. So, like Inception, Interstellar, The Prestige, The Avengers were pivotal moments. I remember The Prestige was one of those first films that I watched that my jaw was on the floor at the end. I had no idea that the end was coming. It was crazy. And then Interstellar, I remember seeing in theaters, and it blew my mind. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing The Avengers with my pappy. And I mean, it still blows my mind to see. Now we're kind of, we take for granted seeing multiple superheroes and all these big stars on screen. Mm-hmm. But back in 2012, that wasn't like a whole big thing yet. Mm-hmm. So those were some pivotal moments, and they had impact on me.
Yeah. Can you remember what the first movie that we watched together was, the one that I gave my opinion on?
Your honest opinion?
Yeah. I can't.
Well, we watched Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I knew that you did not like it.
Yeah, but I don't feel like that was one where I was like, so here's my breakdown of the movie. Because it was after we started dating.
Yes. I can't remember.
Well, whatever that movie was probably influential, but I still feel like my movie journey is just beginning. Yeah. Because like we've talked about before, didn't really grow up as like a movie family, where we watched the big ones, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know yet. Yeah. I will say Past Lives was a big one, in the sense of that type of movie is one that I can see us making together in the future. I agree. Yeah. And it kind of inspired me to be for the first time maybe to truly feel like I shared that dream with you. Yeah. Because I could see it.
I agree. That was definitely an influential one. Any recommendations for movies that you can only watch once?
So here's the thing about that question. To me, and I know that you might disagree with this, and that's okay. But this is just the way my brain works. To me, if you can only watch a movie once, or if I only watch a movie once, it means that I didn't really like it. Because I'm a to-watch movie. Mm-hmm. Even music, there's times where we've listened to songs, and the first time you listen to, if it's a really emotional song, you'll be like, wow, the emotion. It doesn't hit me till the second listen because I feel like I have to really take it in. So if I watch it once and say I never want to watch it again, it means I didn't like it.
So we have a little bit difference of this question. I take it because there are movies I've seen where I've seen it once, I loved it, but I never want to watch it again.
Yeah, I understand why there's also that. I haven't come across a movie like that yet.
Yeah.
But I think I will.
So some that come to mind are pretty much any Darren Aronofsky film. So one that really pops out to me is Requiem for a Dream. I never need to see that film again. It's a great film. People need to watch it, but I don't need to watch it again. It's pretty perfect, but it's horrifying. The Zone of Interest is another one.
Fair, yeah.
Watched it once.
That's a good
I don't
example.
feel like I need to watch it again, but it was great and I loved it, but I don't need to watch it again.
Yeah. So I have some, like, for one that I don't think you need. I think you can only watch it once because, well, just watch it once and you'll know, is Poor Things. Once you watch it once, you just, but here's one that you could watch again, but it won't ever have the same impact.
Go for it.
The No Way Home.
Yeah.
Because
you can
spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. Like, that moment of Andrew coming out will never be you won't ever feel the same way.
So here's the thing with No Way Home. First time, even second time I watched it, I was like, this is the best Marvel movie.
You've watched it more than twice?
I've seen it like 4 times.
I've seen it once.
Oh.
But I want to see it again.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
The
ahead.
first like 2-3 times I saw it, perfect. This is the best movie ever. And then, I think, because I saw it in theaters like 3 or 4 times. Once you get it home and watch it on the TV, then you can start dissecting it a little bit. And I'm like, oh, this story actually really falls apart. And really, it all leans on Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire coming in the third act. And that's why I like the first Tom Holland Spider-Man better than the other two.
But here's the thing, Bryce.
Yes.
You probably watched that movie 4 or 5 times within a short span of time.
I did.
Maybe don't do that. Most people don't do that.
Because with like Infinity War and Endgame, I saw those probably 4 or 5 times each at the theater.
Yeah.
But those both.
Yeah.
Like
I just meant that part won't ever be the same.
No,
like,
I totally.
Shock factor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of any necessarily but I think I understand that there are some movies that it's a great movie, but you either it's too heavy to watch again, or it might like ruin it if you watch it a second time.
Yes.
But also there are some movies that you don't ever want to watch again because you don't want to watch it again. It doesn't suck, but
Yeah. So, okay, moving on. Can faith-based entertainment ever be good? This is a fun one.
What's your thoughts?
Can faith-based entertainment ever be good? I think yes, it can. I think it'd be. I think because this is objective, subjective. Subjective.
So let me just clarify with you.
Yes.
When we're talking faith, obviously we don't have the person who asked this question.
Yes.
But when we're talking faith-based entertainment,
yes,
we're talking about stories that are put out that have faith as the center of the story. Or are we talking about like movies that are put out by faith-based production companies?
Do you
know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
Because it's a little bit different.
Yes. So I'll give a couple answers.
Yeah.
I think that yes, I think if we take it it's a story that has faith of some sort in the story or is pivotal to the story. Yeah, it can definitely be good. There's tons of movies out there that faith is an element or the main part of the film, and it's a great film. That being said, faith-based films that are put out by more like faith-based production companies and such, I personally don't like. So I think faith-based entertainment can be good. Passion of the Christ.
Never watched it.
That's one of those one and dones.
I wasn't allowed to watch it when my family watched it.
I would. Well, how old were you?
Not probably like 9.
Okay, yeah. No, that's not something for a 9-year-old. It's impactful and it's horrifying and it's visceral. It is very well made. And it's literally Jesus. It's the story. So yes, it can be great. But then you have faith-based production companies that are putting out real cheese balls of movies, or they are misleading people with certain films. I don't want to name names and all that, but
do you want to explain how they're misleading?
They are. So there's this controversy that's happened where an unnamed studio, faith-based, they wanted to promote their movie, and the movie already had some negative connotations around it. And they wanted to show that the movie was making a lot of money and all of that. So what was happening is the board and some of the higher ups in the company were really rich. They were buying out entire theaters, and people would go to the movie theaters and then see that nobody was actually in the theaters, but they'd buy them out to get on like the ranking boards of the box office. And then they would say, "Oh, like this movie made more than Indiana Jones. Is it not crazy?" But really,
you just put a timeline on this, babe.
I know. I don't care.
I mean, if you Google it, you can find it probably.
Yeah. But so I have a problem with that. And
that to me, that's where, I have a big problem with that. And that's a whole topic for another day. But that's where it becomes dangerous of like, if you're telling a story that's a faith-based story, then, and you want to make an impact, you want people to go see it, then you best use that money to get the best writers, the best directors, the best producers, the best actors.
Exactly.
And tell a good story.
Yeah.
Don't use that money to mislead people and manipulate people into thinking that it's successful when it's not.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, I'll give my opinion, but you keep going. Yeah.
So overall, I think they're not bad. There's been some good ones, but there's been a lot of bad ones and some that are just plain down laughable. I personally am not a fan of faith-based media because I don't think we've gotten to a point in which I think there's a part of faith-based media that is unrealistic. And I have a problem with that as a storyteller. So until we get to a point where we can tell real stories with faith elements, but also include the real life stuff, I don't think I'll ever really truly like something.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with it as well, of people who are believers. They are humans.
Yes.
Who live the human experience, who have very real emotions and very real feelings. And it can be dark sometimes. It can be heavy sometimes. And that doesn't at all negate their faith, because in fact it like almost elevates it, because when you have faith in those darkness, in the darkness, the redemption, the light that comes out of that, all that conversation. Yet when you watch some of these faith-based stories, it's like, where's the realness in it? Where's the genuine, authentic experience? And I would love to see a faith-based story that is so like gritty. Do you know what I mean? That's so just like, that's hard to watch. That's one of those things where you can only watch once because it is so emotionally, you know?
I would love to see that too.
And because it's, and not in a dramatic way. No. Because I think you can go both ways of that, but something that's so genuine and real of like, because a lot of times I think these faith-based stories tell stories where like God has intervened, correct? So if we're talking about a story like that, then let's really let's really show like, what were you feeling in that moment? Because we've all felt these emotions. We're not, we don't get to avoid them
Mm-hmm.
as believers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so make something that's really genuine and really real as like a story, right?
Yeah.
And that can pull people in. That the whole purpose of making films like this is to share these
Mm-hmm.
stories of hope or stories of whatever with everyone.
Exactly.
So pull people in who are not just Christian families
Yeah.
going. And I also want to see stories that are not just, I think there's places for both, but I think I want to see stories that are not just like we've talked about before, like the handing you on the platter thing, like that are just like, here
Mm-hmm.
it is. But I want to see stories that are about a story
Yeah.
that have faith elements in it.
Agreed.
That make people start to think.
Mm-hmm.
But that at the end of the day are just a story about someone.
Yeah.
And
If you make faith the main thing,
Mm-hmm.
it's never going to, I don't know, be a great, like, make it about a person or their story. And I don't know how, do you know what I'm trying to say? Where,
for example, let me like think about it this way.
yeah,
Past lives.
yeah,
That's a story about people.
yeah,
But an element in it
mm-hmm.
is like the Korean belief of
Inyun.
yeah,
Yeah,
which is like people passing each other
yeah,
in their past lives will then have
Mm-hmm.
have some sort of connection in the like in a future life.
yeah,
So that's an aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's a theme throughout,
Mhm.
but is not the story.
yes,
Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Write a story that's about real people, that faith
Mhm.
is interwoven throughout it, but it's not so easily like
yeah,
thrown in your face.
yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. And I think, like, say there's a person, this is maybe a better, like, how I'm trying to explain it. So a person could be like a Christian, and they could tell everybody that it's on their Instagram, like they're labeled, I'm a Christian. Or there could be this other person that doesn't like label themselves as a Christian and doesn't proclaim it everywhere, but they are. And in their life, they show the love of Christ to people, and they do, and they don't just tell. And I want the story to tell, like
to
do it, not just tell me.
Agreed.
Because-
Which is relevant to just life in general.
Any movie should do.
Well, I mean, the Christian life.
Well, yeah, that too. But
we
we could do
agree.
a whole podcast episode.
We probably will one day. And the other thing too is, if we want faith-based movies to be good, then people need to start being okay with and start supporting Christians, young Christians who want to go make movies.
Yeah.
Because the only way that you can make is to not just have these big production companies be like, oh, we're going to make this movie.
Yeah.
But to have people who are genuinely about the craft, not just about creating media, but about the craft of making film,
Yeah.
who also happen to be Christian.
I agree.
And that's not happening.
No.
But that's just our thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, how does your mental health motivate or detriment your creativity?
We kind of went into this
On
episode 3.
I'd say go watch that.
Yeah, to get full. But I would say it keeps me from creating.
Yeah.
Again, like I had kind of talked about with the project that I'm proud of, is like feeling that freedom to just create with no strings attached, with no fear of failure, doesn't come easy when you're anxious. So it makes it difficult for me.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it does both sometimes. I can call a lot of inspiration from my mental health, but also like this past season, it was super detrimental. So yeah, I think it's both.
Yep. Go watch episode 3 because we really dive into that.
What are some overrated and underrated movies we should know about?
Underrated, the Iron Claw.
Yeah, underrated. The Iron Claw is so underrated.
It is.
Overrated? I think Avatar is super overrated. The blue people. There's a movie with Sandra Bullock in it, Gravity. I think that's really overrated. 1917. It's a war movie and it looks like it was shot all in one take. I personally didn't really like it. I think it's kind of overrated. Those are the ones that popped in my mind. Underrated movies? I don't know.
I can't really. I feel like I reached a point in this podcast where you said think of movies and my brain said nope. Okay. I can't even think of any movie names right now.
Well, if you follow us on Instagram, I'll post underrated movies whenever I come across some.
Yep. Well, apparently Shawshank Redemption was underrated because they didn't win anything.
Well, I think it might be, if we're going to categorize it, I think it's accurately rated.
Okay.
It was just under-awarded.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Biggest influences on your creative styles and how you process life.
Well, those are like 2 questions right there.
So I guess the biggest influences on our creative styles.
I don't have any.
And the biggest influences, I guess, on how we process life.
Yeah. Well, I will say I don't really think I have anybody that I like creatively look up to.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
I don't know. I kind of think I like pick and choose from just things that I see, but it's no one particular.
Hey, the fan's still on?
Can we just leave it?
Sorry about that. The fan was still on.
Yep. We had a fan on because we had to take a quick break because of the cameras, and we turned the fan on and forgot to turn it off. So
well, hopefully I can take that out.
Probably.
Yeah.
So I think I just kind of like, I don't know. Yeah.
How about on how you process life? Like, are there any creators or influencers?
So I feel like here's the thing about me. Mm-hmm. When it comes to these kinds of topics, like creative, how you process life, I have gone through seasons where I've really looked to certain people to help me understand life. Mm-hmm. And for me, that can be really dangerous. Yeah. I think there's something, because those are people who I don't know. Yeah. So I think for me, I try to keep the individuality of like, let me just process what is happening around me. That's like uniquely happening to me. If that makes any sense. Yeah. And I look to the people in my life and in like my inner circle or people who have known me for a long time to help me process.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Because I am one that can easily be persuaded, I think, to think, to have certain thought processes, and that's not always a good thing. Yeah.
I think for me, creatively, in my younger years, Casey Neistat was a big creative influence. Just kind of his guerrilla style filmmaking and making content with whatever he had at his disposal. I think as I've gotten older, I don't really know. Joe Greer is an influence on my photography, but not that I try to copy him, but just in the way that he sees life. I think
yeah, I agree with that. I think he has like a well-rounded way of viewing what he takes photos of. Yeah.
For filmmaking, I don't really know. I pick and choose from a lot of different people. So I don't really have a strong answer for that, but
yeah. But I think we can both agree to be a little bit more aware of where we're seeking that influence from, and then we'll get back to you.
Yes. All right. What has kept you sustained creatively as an artist in terms of process, routine, flow, etc.?
Can you read that one more time?
What has kept you sustained creatively as an artist?
I don't really consider myself an artist, so I'm going to leave this one to you.
I think, oh man, this is cool. This is hard. I think making creativity a part of daily life and trying to see the world. It's kind of like if you listen to episode 3, I see the world in creative elements all the time, but trying to be more intentional about seeing the world differently and looking at some problems of the world differently. So that keeps a creative part of my brain going. I also think that just designing a space to be creative and kind of setting goals of, okay, this month, if I do this one thing, that'll be my creative thing. And then just trying to build up to that goal. So I don't really have a great answer for this because sometimes I just don't feel like being creative, but yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You've been a creative person all your life, but you've been really creating for like 7 years?
Yeah, 7 or 8 years.
What makes you continue to do that? Like, what makes you continue to create and not decide that, like, and not one day decide, I don't want to create anymore?
Because I can't see life and I don't see a future in which I don't do that. If you take creating art or creating anything away from me, I don't know what I have left.
Yeah.
That's it. So I kind of have to keep doing it.
Yeah. Do you have any like routines or like a process that keeps you going? Like that keeps your creating and your mindset in like a healthy
I would say just
place.
Indulging in watching more film and TV, listening to podcasts and reading criticism and all of that.
So, like you said, kind of in episode 3, stay inspired to be inspired.
Exactly. So being intentional about doing things that will keep me inspired.
Yeah. Moving on to our personal life questions.
Okay, fun.
So a little bit lighter, I think, maybe. What is your drink of choice on a daily basis?
On a daily basis? Oh no, it's gone.
You don't have it with you?
Oh no, it's over there on the desk.
You gotta grab it.
It's too far. Vitamin water.
Vitamin water.
But specifically the lemonade.
Yep.
One. That I drink that all the time. I drink that more than actual water.
Yeah, you drink it every day.
Yep. So I'd say
that's the only way I can make you drink water, like some sort of hydration.
So I'd say I'll do my top 3 drinks of choice. My vitamin water, lemonade, a BPN whey protein shake, and then an old fashioned. Like those are my top 3 favorite drinks, probably.
Your daily?
No, not a daily drink. Not a daily drink.
It says daily basis.
Oh, daily basis? Well, that's not necessarily.
But that's your drink of choice when we are
party it up.
Sure.
A protein shake.
My daily drink of choice is water.
Yay. Do you drink enough water though?
I drink a lot of water. I drink more water than you.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I drink a lot of water at the gym.
You, like 1 bottle.
Or 2 sometimes.
But you only drink like a vitamin water and then like a glass of water during the day.
That's true.
And I always have my water bottle on me.
True.
And I'm always drinking water. Some days I don't drink enough, but I have it with me at least. Here's something different about us.
Yeah. You
drink room temperature water.
Oh, it has to be room temperature.
I need it to be ice cold.
I hate ice cold water.
Never mind. I was going to say something. Here's the thing. I can say this on the podcast because I don't feel like I can say it outside the podcast.
Oh, boy.
Bryce likes to be kind and fill up my water.
Oh, no.
But what he does is he puts water in it first, and then you put ice in it.
Yeah.
The ice melts faster. But if you put a bunch of ice in first and then put water over it, it's ice cold for a long time.
See, I don't put any ice in my water bottle at all.
I know. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't drink water.
I'd rather have it hot than cold.
I wouldn't drink water. So anyways, that's my drink of choice on a daily basis.
All right, next.
What's your dream vacation spot?
My dream vacation spot. If we're taking Korea out of it.
Yeah, Korea's out of it because that's like the dream trip. But it's a little more involved than just a vacation.
I'd say Europe of some sort. England, maybe.
Really?
I think so, but I'm not sure. Iceland would also be really cool.
I want to go to Italy.
Yeah, Italy would be really cool. I hope to get there.
I really want to go to Italy.
Yeah.
I want to eat good food. Take really cool pictures.
No, I know exactly where I want to go.
Where?
India.
Really?
Yes.
For a vacation?
Yes.
For a vacation.
Well, okay, maybe not for a vacation, but for an experiential
Got it.
trip.
You want to take photos?
I want to learn culture.
Oh.
Culture, food, photos. I want to go to India.
Interesting.
Yeah.
If you could have coffee with anyone in the world, who would it be?
Do you know who you would have?
No, but you have asked me this question before.
I have.
And my answer, well, no, who would you interview?
Yes.
That was your question. And I said Meghan Markle.
Yes. Why?
Because I feel like if I talked to her in person, I would know if she was telling the truth or lying about the royal family.
Ooh. Who would
Which I do think she's telling the truth. BT dubs.
Who would I have coffee with? So I'm not interviewing them.
You're just having coffee with them.
I'm just chilling.
I know who you'd choose.
Who? Joe? Oh. Okay. So here's a couple. I'd love to have coffee with Barack Obama. That'd be a real cool one. Coffee with Bill Burr would be fun. Just get an espresso with Bill. Talk life with John Mulaney. I don't know. But yeah, probably Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
You know who just popped into my head?
Who?
Who I think would be a fun, hang?
Who?
Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson would be a great hang.
I don't know if coffee.
No.
But
smoothies.
I was thinking more lunch or drinks or something.
Yeah.
But she just seems like a genuinely fun person to talk to. Are you guys brand loyalists?
I would love to be a brand loyalist, but I don't have the money to be a brand loyalist. I'd love to be like a Leica brand loyalist where I only have Leica. But as we look right now, we're recording on a Sony, a Blackmagic, and a Fujifilm. Very not brand loyal. But I would love to be brand loyal someday.
What about remember all the I guess I don't know if it's a trend or controversy or whatever about mix matching athletic wear.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that.
I don't care. Wear clothes, people. Wear clothes.
I know I do it where I'll wear a Nike shirt with Gymshark shorts, but it really bothers me.
No. Listen, if anybody's ever seen me after I work out, I sweat through those clothes anyways. I don't give a crap about what brand they are, as long as they're comfortable and don't make me stink too much,
Fair.
What have you been listening to recently? Music, podcasts, etc.
Music-wise,
we're entering into
the
John Mayer
season. Yeah.
Which is most of the year anyways.
Yeah.
But.
So things I listen to, John Mayer, always listen to Taylor Swift.
We like Zach Bryan.
Yeah.
But we don't listen to it. We're not listening to him a lot right now because he was like a good fall.
What I listen to personally,
End of summer.
A lot of Kendrick Lamar. Yeah, a lot of Kendrick Lamar recently.
I am in desperate need of revamping my music.
Yeah, it's
because I have Apple Music
mm-hmm.
because I get it for free. Thanks, Dad. And like I've had it for a long time.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of music on there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
And for the most part, like when we're listening to music, like in the car or something, it's your, on your phone. So it's like your Spotify and stuff. And I need to just like go through my music, delete a bunch of stuff and add a bunch of the stuff that we listen to that I enjoy listening to. But I haven't really done that. So I can't, basically whatever Bryce listens to is what I listen to because it's a mess. Yeah. My music is a mess right now.
It is.
So I don't listen to music on my phone because it's not what I want to listen to.
Bleachers, Lizzie McAlpine, Dodie sometimes. Yeah. And then the classics. Yeah, that's what I'm listening to.
What about podcasts?
Well, I think that's the next question too.
No, it's part of this question. Oh, it's both.
Yeah.
It's what have you been listening to recently, music and podcasts, and then podcast recommendations.
Yes.
So 2 questions in one.
Do you have any podcast recommendations and where you listen to podcast-wise?
You don't think I listen to good podcasts.
I don't not think that.
Like we talked about last week, I'm a sucker for a good influencer podcast. So I really like the Unplanned podcast. I would recommend that one.
Yeah.
They're really good at interviewing. The Squeeze.
That's a good one.
The Lautners. Taylor Lautner and his wife, Taylor Lautner, and it's pronounced Lautner, not Lautner. Anyways, they have a mental health podcast. Love that.
Yep.
If I highly recommend that to anybody who's interested in mental health, struggling with mental health. It just is a great thing to listen to, helps you process what you're experiencing and things like that. You've been introducing me to some podcasts.
Yep.
But what about you? You listen to a lot of podcasts.
I listen to podcasts constantly.
Yeah, and you last week you were on me for the silence thing, but look at you listening to podcasts all the time.
All the time. So I'll just name off the ones that I really like. And I guess since I listen to them and I love them, I recommend them to most people. The John Campea Show is where I get movies, TV news, and just general punditry. He's really cool. I like his crew that he works with. Great dude. Pod Save America. It's run by Crooked Media. Great crew. John Lovett, John Favreau, Tommy Vitor, Dan Pfeiffer. They used to work for the Obama administration. They deliver the news and talk about it in a way that is clear, concise, and just very informative.
And also not so like, because I started listening to that, not so like scary.
Yeah.
I think sometimes like, you see stuff on the news or whatever and you're like, oh my gosh, everything's falling apart. Yeah. And then whenever you hear them talk about it, you're like, okay, like everything, it's okay. It's going to be okay.
Yes.
Which I appreciate.
The Bill Burr Monday Morning Podcast is just great because it just feels like you're hanging out with Bill. The Big Picture Podcast by The Ringer is great. I love Sean Fennessy and Amanda Dobbins. They talk about movies. There's probably a lot more. But
I started listening to the Wizards of Waverly pod. Highly recommend if you are in that phase of Disney. It's just fun. It's like nostalgic to like hear them talk about their Disney experience, but also opened your eyes to some of the ins about Disney. Talks a little bit. There's references to some of the struggles with being a Disney star, but also the great things about it. So.
Yeah. So those are the ones that I think I recommend.
Yeah.
Oh, the Nick Bare podcast is pretty good. It's about health and fitness and all of that. So if you're into that, Nick Bare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good recs. I've never said that in my entire life. That felt unnatural to come out of my mouth. Celebrity crush growing up or celebrity crush now?
Okay. So let's both start with our celebrity crushes when we were growing up. And then
I have two, I think.
Okay.
Probably more.
Go for it.
No, aren't we saying it at the same time?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Misunderstood.
Okay, who?
Guess mine.
Zac Efron.
Yeah. And we talked about him the other day, too. Zac Efron was like little Cam.
Yeah.
Right? So like before middle school, middle school crush was Andrew Garfield.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen the trend on like social media? It's an old trend, but it was like my celebrity crush growing up and who I married. And sometimes they look like, you don't know that trend?
No, I don't.
And sometimes they look like really close, and then sometimes they're complete opposite, and like mine are the complete opposite. Anyways.
So Zac Efron and Andrew Garfield.
Yep.
Who do you think my celebrity crush was?
Wasn't the one Bryce
Dallas Howard?
Yes.
No.
But you did have a crush on her. You told me this.
I did, but she wasn't like my celebrity crush.
I, for the longest time, said that your celebrity crush was Florence Pugh.
She isn't.
Is it
like younger Bryce? Who is younger Bryce's celebrity crush?
I don't know.
We talked about her the other day.
I don't remember.
Megan Fox.
Insert eye roll if you're listening.
Okay, so now, who's your celebrity crush?
Why are you blushing over there?
I'm not blushing. It's my skin condition.
Oh, okay. You have an excuse. I see. Well, I already named like my 4 celebrity crush. I don't have any like men celebrity crushes. I feel like it changes because like you're my celebrity crush.
Oh, thank you.
But I definitely have like women crushes. What about you?
Simu.
I know Simu's your crush. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys already knew this at this point.
Oh, I forgot. So younger Bryce was Megan Fox. Older Bryce, Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I know you like her. Yeah. This is a great question.
Okay.
But also layered. So.
Okay. I'm buckling in.
Yep. How do you know I was going to say that? Buckle up.
Were you? Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
Is college really necessary?
Okay.
My parents tell me it is, but I really don't know what I want to do with my life. How am I supposed to know all that at 18? I have so many thoughts.
We need to get, well, first of all, we should get we should like make this a part of the show and then eventually turn it just into a question show where they call in and they're like, hey, how do you feel about college? Yeah. My parents tell me like
a radio show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Should we just start a radio show?
I feel like that's going backwards in time. But okay, so do you have very strong opinions about this?
Yeah, so I feel like you should go first.
Okay, because I don't. College is very. I think it's up to the person. I went to college. You went to college. Could I do what I do now without college? Most definitely, but the college definitely helped me in how I think critically and how I write a little bit better. But I don't think it's for everybody. I think that the norm of going to college should be eradicated. I don't think high school should necessarily push kids to go to college. I think trade schools and internships and all of those sort of things should be pushed more. And then if you just want to go work in the workforce, that's okay too. And I think it's okay that you don't know what you want to do at 18. I'm 24 and barely know what I want to do. So there's that. That's all I have to say. Your turn.
So do I think college is necessary? Absolutely not. And I believe that higher education can be great. I'm not against higher education at all. I think that there are definitely quite a few careers where you need higher education, and I hope that you do have higher education. If you're going to be a doctor, please get educated. If you're going to be my therapist, please be educated. Like, there are jobs where it is necessary to get that education, because not only with those things are you getting an education, you're probably also like doing some sort of like internship that's required by the school, or like if you're in medical school, you do like your residency and things like that, where you're learning hands-on experience as well as having the knowledge, because it's important to have that knowledge in those jobs. However, I think we oftentimes limit when we think of careers, we think of like being a doctor, being a lawyer, being whatever. Like, you have like these main areas of work. And so when we're in high school and we're trying to make that decision, we think about those areas. We also have schools telling us to look into those areas. We also have family telling us to look into those areas. We have people saying, well, those jobs make good money. Yeah, after you spend a bunch of money on school, but I'll get there. And so there's that pressure to look in those areas. But if you open your mind to all of the different roles in a business, in society, in the world, there's so many career opportunities. And not all of those opportunities require a 4-year degree. And so it's important, and I'm going to answer the second part of your question, but it's important to know what you want to do and to know if that career what type of education it needs. Because I think there's a shift happening among companies where it isn't as, there are some companies who are willing to take in people, teach people, give them the information and the skills that they need to be successful. And so you might have to start at the bottom of a company, but can grow because that's what the culture of that company is. But there's still some companies that aren't. So yeah, first of all, know what education your job actually needs. Some jobs just need training, like an apprenticeship, which I think needs to become more popular personally, which I'll get to in a second. But if it needs a 2-year degree, do a 2-year degree. If you need a 4-year degree, then you need a 4-year degree. Or if you can do an internship, take the time that you would be spending in college to do an unpaid internship, to get certified in areas. Sometimes you just need a certificate. And think about all of your options. Also think about, again, with the variety of jobs that you can do, there isn't one path for everybody. And there's jobs within these companies that you might not think of that's like, wow. Even like we've talked about with like movies. Not that you want to go into that, but like, there's so many people behind one outcome. There's so many people behind a company. So just explore those options. Figure out what education you need. Some will argue that you need a 4-year degree to get a job. And I do think that there's some truth to that. Again, I say that there's companies who are changing their perspective on that, and I hope more companies do. Because here's my experience. I got like accepted to a college. I'm just going to name colleges because it's easier for me to explain the story. So when I was a senior, I got accepted to Penn State main campus. Planned on going there. So like literally was going to go to that school. Then decided to go to Penn State, like an off-campus Penn State. Was there for a semester, then transferred to an online school. So like I got that degree in 3 years. I got a degree in religion. And what I'll say about that is right now, I am looking for some jobs to do. And it doesn't matter. This is how I feel personally. It doesn't matter that I have a degree. They're not hiring me because for probably other reasons, but like it's hard to find a place who I feel like is going to accept a degree in religion.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of bull crap when people say, oh, you just need the degree.
Yeah.
Because by the end of my senior year, I was like, well, I don't really want to do this anymore, but at least I'll have a degree.
Yeah.
But what's a degree in religion going to do for me?
Yeah.
People are going to see that and be like, okay, whatever. What's she going to do with that? You know what I mean? So for people to say that it's only the degree matters, I don't think that's true. I think what the degree in is what matters.
Agreed.
And so you're going to come out. And also, they're saying it's going to be hard for you to get a job if you don't have a degree. Guess what? It's equally as hard for you to get a job if you do have a degree.
Yeah.
Like, it legitimately is. You have people coming out of a 4-year degree who spent a ton of money, who can't find a job because jobs are saying, actually, what the qualification that you don't have is that you don't have 5 years experience. Darn. Like, well, how do you expect me to get that 5 years of experience if no one's hiring me?
Yeah.
That's not a question of degree. That's a question of experience. And so what I think that you just have to think about is, like, yeah, maybe some companies, maybe in some careers and in some industries, I will need that degree to get a job, even if it's not a specific degree. Yeah. But do that research to figure out if you need it or not. And also be aware that when you come out of college, you are also going to have a hard time finding a job. Yeah. It's just the situation we're in. So you can't base it just solely based on you also need to build your resume up and have work experience, because companies are also looking for that. So it's not just the degree. Yeah. Now, you also asked, how am I supposed to know what I want to do at 18? Yeah. Whoever you are, I get you. Again, by the time I got accepted into Penn State, and by the time I started going to school, I think I changed my degree 3 or 4 times. And then before I even started college. Yeah. And then, like I said, switched my degree again and went to transferred schools. Now, I was kind of lucky in the fact that the way that it worked out for me was that when I transferred and changed my major, that I hadn't gotten into the other major enough for it to really hurt me. And also I was graduating early, so I had a year to add on time if I needed to. But that's not everybody's situation. Yeah. If you 2 years into college decide to switch your major, you're screwed. Genuinely. Because you're going to have to, you've probably already started taking major classes at that point, which if they do count as gen eds, that's fine. But also you possibly have to pay more money to get the new major and the new degree that you want, right? I mean, that's happened. I know people who have not been able to switch their major because it would have added on time to their college experience, plus money. Some colleges you pay per course, per credit. So you're spending money. Yeah. And so my personal opinion is also, mind you, I have a degree that I'm not using. Yeah. That I don't want to do anything with, because I thought when I was 19 that that's what I wanted to do, and even within a couple years didn't want to do that. How many people would probably agree with that's their story too? Yeah. People I know personally who by their junior year was like, I don't want to do this, but I've already gone 3 years into this. So what I would recommend, and I don't even think a year's enough time. How are we supposed to know what we want to do? Yeah. We're never really going to know at this age. And at 18, you're not going to know. Yeah. I'd much rather you take a year off. We've talked about this with what will we tell our kids about college? I'd rather you take a year off, work, do an internship, be out in the world. Yeah. Because before you graduate high school, you are influenced solely by your parents. Yeah. Really, at that point. which is not a bad thing. But you're in, you know, you're in their home. You go to school, you go to your sport, you go to extracurricular activities, you come home, you're in this bubble, right? The minute you step out of that is the minute you start to actually learn about the world and make your own decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
You start to understand your own identity. Like, you might have a good idea of who you are, but you learn even more about the person that you are and the things that make you tick and the things that are important to you and the values that you have and what you want to offer to society. All of those things are necessary for you to decide what you want to do for a career, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to take that time. Those are things I didn't even really fully learn until I was in school, and then even learned greater in these past year of us being together. And so, and then more when we moved, you know, to get in together and faced adult problems, right? And so take time to just observe the world, to learn things, to figure out those things that are of value to you, and search different avenues to work in.
Yeah.
Because I don't expect an 18-year-old to know what they want to do for the rest of their life. I think it's crazy. And the thing is, schools start to try to get you to know what you want to do when you're like 15.
Yeah.
I took career tests and I tested that I should be a judge. So I went the law route and then political policy route. I would get eaten alive. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't. And so I'd rather you take a year off, figure out those things, figure out what you want to do before you start spending money, lots of money.
Yeah.
And then go in, then evaluate what kind of degree do I need? What kind of training do I need for this job? Who are they hiring at this job? Then what kind of college experience do I want to have? Do I want to get out of college as fast as I can? Do I want to pay less? Do I want to work while I'm in college? Okay, maybe online college is for me. Do I want to live away from my parents? Do I want to experience that independent, you know?
Yeah.
Then, yeah. And some might argue, well, then you're not even graduating college for another, like a year later than all your peers. Enjoy that time.
Yeah.
Enjoy time where your parents can support you, where maybe you're even living with your parents. Save that money. And like, because as soon as you step out on your own, as soon as you step into the workforce, you're hit with reality.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that all made sense, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're hungry.
Yes.
So y'all know what to do.
Like, subscribe,
Review,
comment, all the things. Follow us.
Yep. Share.
Yeah. All that stuff. But thanks for hanging in with us, and thanks for sending in those awesome questions.
Yes, thank you so much. We'll do it again, so be thinking about questions.
Oh, yeah. Well, see you next week.
Yep, see you next episode. Good job, bub.
Good job.